Okay. So again, I'll recap everything. So we'll be having concept called exception handling. The purpose of exception handling is to handle the runtime errors. So if you want to use concept called exception handling, if there is any exception occur in a code, any DML actions or any line of the code won't be executed. To overcome those problems, we'll be having try catch block. So by taking help of exception block, we can handle an exception. So throw is a keyword which is used to raise any exception. So in a real time, mostly we'll be having lot of exceptions. Out of all the exceptions, these are the few important exceptions. First one is an math exception, like if you divide some number with 0, or if you perform addition between like 10 plus some string, like that will be getting math exception. Whereas DML exceptions are the exceptions while creating a record, while updating a record. If some required feeds data is missing, you'll be get a DML exception. So null point exception is an exception. It will occur like whenever you're performing some action on an object or any collection. At the time, like if there is no data, and if you apply any function on a data, it will give you a null point exception. And similarly, if you want to throw any custom exception based on your requirement, you can use a throw keyword. And by taking help of the syntax, you can raise any exception. Here I raised null point exception. Okay. Now, like to overcome this exception, we'll be having try catch blocks, and we'll be having structure of try catch block like this. So try block in this, whatever the code you want to write, you can write it. So if there is any exception present, that like if there is any errors present, it won't execute this code, it will come up to except block, and like whatever the code is written in this except block, that will be executed. So finally is a block, if you want to execute some mandatory statements, you can define that thing in a finally block. It's about syntax. Now, like whatever the things we discussed with an exception, like I'll be add like try catch block to this. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll say, after this I'll say catch. So initially what I'll say is I'll say exception E. Like let's suppose if you want to say any exception, you can say that, or else like if you want to say math exception only, you can say like let's suppose directly I'll use a global one, exception E. Like if there is any exception occur, it needs to caught that exception. So in this, like whatever the exception occur, I need to display that exception. So you can write that method here, system dot debug. In this, I'll write generic exception. So like let's suppose if it is like if you want to check a specific exception, let's suppose if you want to check a math exception, here you need to say math exception. If it is a math exception, then only it will enter into this like catch block. Or else if you want to check another exception, let's suppose if you want to check a DML exception, there what you need to do is you need to say catch of DML exception. Like that, whatever the specific exception occurs, we need to specify that exact exception name. But that is not possible in all the cases. Like let's suppose if you want to check an exception, for that, like you need to define multiple catch blocks. To avoid that problem, if you write an exception of E means, it will understand, it will catch any type of exception it might be, it will catch that exception, and it will give you this one as an output. After this, I'll write to finally block for this exception. So now what I'll do is, in a finally block, what you can do is like if you want to execute any code block, you can mandatorily like required, like if there is any irrespective of the error, if you want to execute any block of code, we can define it in a finally execute mandatory. I'm writing it in a comments. Now I'll keep it in comments. I'll execute this code and we'll see like again will be get an exception or not. So line 9, column 1, something is missing. Line 9. Sorry, here semicolon is missing. So getting right, it's a very helpful concept. Actually, it's a small, though it is a small concept, it is a helpful concept. I'm opening logs. So we did not receive any error, right? So here we did not receive any error. It is giving an output. So now I'll go to debug only. You can see before exception, it is giving a system dot default message. So let's suppose I'll go to this anonymous window. You can see here it is giving this statement as an output. Though we are having an exception here, though we are having an error, so like initially we are writing our code in a try block. If there is no exception, it will give you output corresponding to this try block. If there is any exception occurs, it will check, it will go to catch block if there is any exception present or not. So if there is any exception present, whatever the code you want to execute, you can write that code here. But for the simplicity sake, here I'm writing a debug statement only. And finally, I'm keeping this one, execute mandatorily. Let's suppose we'll keep a different scenario here. Let's suppose we'll give a value like 2. And I'll execute this code. What could be the output in this case? Null point exception. Sorry, we are executing this complete one. At the bottom, we'll be having exception. Then it is executed successfully. Log file is created. I'm opening this one. What could be the expected output? Tell me before looking at the output.
Before exception phi and execute mandatory.
Like, don't it gives output like 5?
It will, but
Yes.
you have system.debug on before exception, so it's going to
Yeah.
get displayed.
First, it will be give this one an output, and it will enter into try block. If there is any exception present, means error present, directly it will come to this catch block and it will give you this one as an output. If there is no exception, it will give you this statement as an output. And like if this is true, means it is like a if else only. If it is true, means it won't give an output corresponding to catch block. Okay. And like we use its finally block, right? This will be come up in an output. Okay, like I'll debug it so that you'll understand. So you can see before exception, result is 5.0 and like it is giving an output also. Clear? Clear? Any doubts? If you have any doubts, let me know. So we'll be having several methods for these exceptions. Like I'll go to this concept and I'll show you those errors. So what you can do is like you can try same thing for these methods also. Like this account one and everything. Can you able to try it or can we do it now? Yes, tell me. So here I'll go to the Apex guide, exception methods. Methods, Apex. Exception class and built-in exception, built-in exceptions, common methods. I'll go through this. I'll check whether it contains this link contains this thing or not. So whenever you stuck somewhere, remember you can go to the Apex developer guide. There you'll find everything. You'll get a method and you can see the method syntax and you can sometimes you'll be getting examples also. So it is loading. Actually, I'll be having network issue. So you can see built-in methods. We'll see whether we are having any methods here. So you can see different common methods. Get cause, get line number, get message, get stack trace string, get type name. Like that, we'll be having different error methods, like common exception methods. So like which method gives which stuff he specified here, get cause. Return the cause of the exception as an exception object. Okay, get line number, like returns the line number on which line the specific exception occurs. Get message, returns the error message that displays for the user. Get stack trace string, return the stack trace of a thrown exception as a string. Like that, we'll be having different exception methods. I'll add all these exception methods in this Apex class, and we'll see that stuff. Okay, so in this exception in the catch block itself, I'll add all these methods. So for that, what I'll do is I'll use the debug method, system dot debug. In this debug method, I'll specify all this stuff. So initially, like, I'll go with the cause first, cause. So I want to get a cause. So to get a cause, what I'll do is, like, we are storing this exception in a variable e, right? So with the e dot, we can access any method corresponding to this class. Exception is present in, like, we defined, we are giving alias name for this exception class with the e. With this e, we can specify any class. There will be having get cause, right? Same thing I'm specifying here. Get cause. Sorry, spelling mistake. Get cause. It's a method. Method means we need to, like, it won't contain any parameters. Now what I'll do is I'll copy paste this line for 3 more times. Like, I'll see 4 methods for one shot. Two, three, 4. So 4 methods I copied. And second, I need to check a message. So in place of cause, I'll look at the message. So coming to the message here, which method we need to use? Get message, right? So I'm specifying get message method. And at the next, what I want to do is get line number, on which line we are getting an exception. E dot get. So if I am doing any mistakes while typing a text, let me know. Get line number, it is also a method. So the next will be having get trace string, right? Get, you can copy paste those methods from there also. Get stack only, right? Stack trace string. Like, we applied all these methods in it, and now what I'll do is I'll execute this code. Is there any errors present? We'll check. We'll execute this and we'll see the output. So, like, with this, what you can understand is, like, whether these methods are helpful or not. You'll understand that info. I'm picking on debug only. So here we're not having any exception. That's why it is not jumping into the exception code. So now I'll add an exception in this anonymous window so that it will be jump into the exception code. Catch block. Actually, we are not entering into the catch block. That's why it is not giving any output. Okay. So here I'll say 10 by 0. Let's system.debug. Something is missing. Missing semicolon in which line? Line 5, column 2. Line 5. Nothing is
Fourth
missing.
Line 4.
Yeah, here semicolon is missing. I think my system voice is bit high. I shot like I applied. Okay. Now one log file is created. So I'm going to debug only. Now we can see the important information, like which kind of exception occur for each and everything. We can able to see the output. So here cause null, there is no cause. Message divide by 0 is a message. The error which we get is a divide by 0. Cause, like, on which line it occurs. Like, here I did not change the comment. That's why it is giving like a cause only. So I'll show you. I did not change it the cause and cause, right? Error line number, we can replace it like error line number. Oh, yeah, what's happening? It's removing the characters. Why it's happening? Which method it is actually? Plus, which method it is? Get line number, right?
Get line number.
E dot get a line. You need not to remember these methods. Remember, always you can go to the developer guide and you can copy the method while working on any project. But for an interview perspective, like you need to answer these like at the time, like you need to remember. Okay. So X. So it is stack trace, right? Get stack trace. Okay, and now I'll execute this. Oh, but line 15. Which error we're having in line 15? So we did not close this finally. It's executed successfully. Saying my laptop going to be shut down. I'm sitting outside. So till here everything is clear to you, right? Like
Yes.
if you go to debug, you can see the different messages. Okay. So trace this trace block, what it will give you is like on which line and at which column we got an error. It will give you that information. Okay. So now we'll be having like if you want to throw a custom exception, as you already familiar with that custom exception. Like with this, you can create an Apex class also to throw a custom exception. Okay, I'll share you that code with you and go through this. Yeah, like we need not to throw any exception. It's about concept called exception handling. It's a very small concept. So I'm stopping with this small concept today. Tomorrow we'll discuss another concept. Like I told you, yeah, asynchronous Apex, that's a very important concept. If time permits, we'll continue for long tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm having a holiday only so that I can take for a longer session. So can we start bit early, Richa, tomorrow? Like you'll be having office, right? Around 7 p.m. or
What
6
time do you want to start?
6:40 p.m. IST or 7 p.m. IST, like that. Like we will
The-
prepone the session just 20 minutes or 30 minutes prior to the regular time.
Yeah, that should work.
Okay then. Okay. Prashanti, is it fine for you? 6:50 p.m. or 6:40 p.m. around like that.
Yes.
Okay then. Tomorrow, yeah, we'll start bit early then. We'll continue for 2 sessions. Okay.
Okay.
Okay then. Thank you. Have a great day.